When resilience becomes part of your culture, every challenge is an opportunity, every setback a lesson, and every team member a leader in their own right.
Real Resilient Conversations isn't just a show, it's a movement, a mindset, and a community dedicated to helping you and your organization thrive. Tune in every second and fourth Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time and see the difference resilience makes. Be part of the movement and join the conversation live. Watch us on Twitch, Real Resilient Convos. Follow us on Facebook, Real Resilient Conversations with Quita. Get inspired on Instagram at Real Resilient Conversations. Catch our videos on YouTube at Real Resilient Conversations. Wherever you are, Resilient Conversations is just a click.
In a world that's always evolving, where challenges come at the speed of change, resilience isn't just a buzzword, it's the foundation for growth and success. Welcome to Real Resilient Conversations.
Every second and fourth Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, we bring you transformative discussions designed to build strength through dialogue. Whether you're a leader aiming to inspire, a team striving to collaborate, or an individual professional seeking growth, Real Resilient Conversations is your guide to thriving in today's dynamic environment.
Our mission is clear: foster emotional resilience, cultivate transparent communication, and empower businesses to adapt with confidence. Through our resilient leadership coaching, we don't just talk about resilience, we live it, lead it, and help you achieve it. When resilience becomes part of your culture, every challenge is an opportunity, every setback a lesson, and every team member a leader in their own right.
Real Resilient Conversations isn't just a show, it's a movement, a mindset, and a community dedicated to helping you and your organization thrive. Tune in every second and fourth Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time and see the difference resilience makes. Be part of the movement and join the conversation live. Watch us on Twitch, Real Resilient Convos. Follow us on Facebook, Real Resilient Conversations with Quita. Get inspired on Instagram at Real Resilient Conversations. Catch our videos on YouTube at Real Resilient Conversations. Wherever you are, Resilient Conversations is just a click.
I can see me, but I don't hear you.
Did you see me at all or hear me at
There we
all when I did?
now I can hear you. Awesome.
Oh, goodness. That means no one heard my intro. Now I see it. Okay, so let me go back through. Hi. I didn't realize it. I wanted to make sure and get with my my team. I didn't know if it was started, but that's okay. Oh, okay. So welcome to the end of month fill up. It's always this is how it is in production. That's okay. So let me read your bio again, Mr. Adonis. I hate that no one else heard it. So let me start over if that's okay.
Yes.
So I wanted to let the people know you are a licensed massage therapist, a level 2 Reiki practitioner. You have several modalities in healing and body work. That also includes some sound and stretching, some sound healing, stretching, tantric practices. You're a sexologist. Man, I'm trying to tell you, I told you he has a lot going on now. Many talents. He's a sexologist. He's an intimacy and relationship coach, a pleasure facilitator with a passion for cultivating, creating, and providing a safe space for women to explore multiple levels of intimacy, bliss, and positive touch, pleasure, sensual and sexual, as well as kink experiences without negative judgment, guilt, or shame. He assists women on their journey to becoming more emotionally aware, energetically balanced, physically healthy, mentally strong, and sexually satisfied to allow them access and unlock their highest versions of themselves through the healing power of pleasure. So,
Mhm.
you didn't know, this is the time to go ahead and tap in. Make sure that you go through, like, share, subscribe, tag people, let them know that you're here, because this is going to be a night to definitely remember. So I am so grateful to have you. Welcome, Mr. Adonis. Welcome, welcome. Let the people know how they can find you. So while we're tagging along, they know how to find you.
Not at all. So you can all find me. Everything for me is Relax with Adonis. My website is relaxwithadonis.com on Instagram or Facebook. You can follow. Always, I appreciate you having me on the show and the opportunity just to let people know about me and continue to promote what you do for people while having real resilient conversations.
Give me 1 second. I'm sure the people heard you. I just couldn't hear you on my side. So let me see. I have you on mute. Okay. Now can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Wonderful. I can hear you too. Is it giving an
Awesome.
echo at all?
Nah, we're good.
Perfect. I'm happy that's all I need is that you're here. I can hear you. The people can hear you. All right. Now you can hear. Okay. Wonderful. So that means somebody else couldn't hear. It wasn't just me. Once again, can you share how the people can follow you if they are in need of finding you?
Yes. If you want to use any of my services, whether it's massage or just coaching, you can follow me at relaxwithadonis.com is my website to book me. I'm on Instagram, Relax with Adonis. Anytime you need to find me anywhere, Relax with Adonis will be the way to find me.
Okay. So I know that the women are like, please tell me more how to get in touch with myself. So this is definitely the opportunity and the man you need to talk to, ladies, on how to get more in touch with yourself and your
Mhm.
feminine side and understanding. He has done many, many years of experience. He has many, many years of experience because he's taken many classes, many certifications on how to do that in a safe space. And usually when you hear of a man that does this for women, a lot of them are thrown off. But there are a lot that are like me that are excited that a man wants to help women to cultivate that because it is usually shunned upon. So thank you so much for all that you do for the community.
I love it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, today we are going into part two of Rain Freedom. So, if you have not, if you missed part one, go back. It was on the 14th of April of 2025. Please go back and listen in. All we're doing today is we are taking the experience, the knowledge, the skills, the energy of Mr. Adonis, and we are tapping right into that and bringing it all into full circle to get a different perspective, a better understanding from a male's perspective. And I know a lot of people are like, I always hear from your perspective. You're a woman, you don't understand. Tonight, you are getting both sides. More so, Mr. Adonis. But of course, I'll be chiming in as I can. Now, I do want everyone to just chime in the chat if you could. Whenever you heard that tonight's topic was rain freedom, what did you think that that meant in respect to your resiliency? And for those of you who are my R2Cs, my Real Resilient Conversation crew, you know how we do. You already know what it is. But for those that are new, go ahead and show them in the chat how to let everybody know what they believe rain freedom is as in regards to resiliency. And while that's happening, Mr. Adonis, when you heard rain freedom before you watched it before, what did you think that it meant whenever you heard it?
When I hear it, I really thought it represented feeling what comes down on you, right?
Mhm.
And being just allowing something to kind of wash over you and through
Mhm.
you and out of you.
Okay. And because that rain, that was a good one. Over you, through you, and out of you is what I heard.
Hmm. Hmm.
And a lot of that also goes into to me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all of that plays
Hmm.
a big factor into what comes in you, what flows through you, and what comes out of you on all aspects. And so when you're talking about embracing storms when it comes to rain, and when you're talking about the storms of life, storm usually helps with that growing process and being able to grow through things and grow over obstacles because there's always going to be an obstacle, right? Just like when the rain nourishes the earth, the challenges that we face, the emotional storms, the emotional setbacks, the mental setbacks, unexpected challenges, whatever that may look like, can really fuel our personal growth, strength, development, renewal, right? And
Hmm.
so we're just going to jump right into those three topics that I talked about on the 14th, but more so getting a understanding from a male's perspective of how that can really they can understand it, right? So over here in Instagram, sorry, I have different screens, so I'm looking in different directions. Over on Instagram, somebody said that helping a woman release her reign and freely being able to do it is also
Mm.
important, which is
Yes.
true, right?
Hmm.
It's a lot of women who do not understand how to release that reign within them so that it can come out of them because it has been shunned upon depending on their life experiences, how they grew up, their religious background, all of that plays a factor as well. So the three topics, just in case you weren't here for the last time, you can go back and watch it in depth at a later time. But was the first one was freedom to feel deeply. The second was freedom in adversity, or freedom
Hmm.
during adversity, and growth through storms. So, as a reminder, resiliency isn't just about surviving in the rain, but it's learning to dance through it, learning to embrace the rain. So, because the rain is going to come, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's a part of our day to day life. And so, really being able to hone in and appreciate the rain in our life is so important and so valuable. And so, this is why your perspective is so valuable on today, right? You are reining in on real resilient conversations to be able to grow and develop who we are and what we can do to become better from a male's perspective.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so when you allow yourself to feel deeply, the highs, the lows, the in between, you usually unlock a type of freedom that's usually raw, it's honest, it's unshakable. But it's the type of freedom that doesn't depend on circumstances, but it's usually connection to self. So the first thing that I had talked about was talking about emotional liberation. When you hear emotional liberation, what comes to mind?
When I hear emotional liberation, I hear what I like to create, right? A safe space to fully feel your emotions to
Mhm.
completion. We aren't really allowed that as we grow up, where we can just express ourselves completely without having someone feel like we are saying it's their fault, or having
Mhm,
us feel like we are either guilty or being judged, right, by our own emotions.
mhm,
And so emotional liberation, where you feel safe enough in your space where you can
mhm,
express yourself fully. And I believe that there are five basic emotions that we feel, and that's anger, fear, sadness, happiness, and arousal. And as we are growing up in our childhood, we really aren't given the space to feel those. And as we grow up, we learn that we can be our own safe space and just express ourselves and want to be heard, not be fixed, not to be coddled, not to do anything, but just be heard and let us feel.
mhm. And do you feel like as a man that you uh, often were
Mm.
not able um, to express how you felt or if you didn't feel?
Yeah, that's actually come up in a couple of conversations. And so from a man's perspective, there aren't a lot of spaces, even with men or with
Mhm,
women, right, where we can be emotional, right? So a lot
mhm,
of times in spaces with men, it's shunned upon, or it feels like uh we are being not strong enough if we aren't able to express our emotions. And then there are
mhm,
times, even with women, when we are expressive, that it feels like it's too much or it's too scary. Even being as a black man, we aren't allowed to just fully express our emotions because it may feel or come off as being too stern or
mhm,
too commanding, right? But I've learned that what we have to do is understand our role, and always take your emotions as something internal, right? And so a lot of times the reason it's hard to express yourself, because what we are expressing are saying that someone made us feel this way, right? As
mhm,
opposed to looking into the mirror and saying, I feel this way. And then you can say because of it, but first establishing the feeling that you are going to express.
okay. And that's a good point to point out. I know that before, I mean, I have you and I have talked about this in the past, but usually if I'm upset about something or I don't understand something, I usually say the action. So whatever
Hmm.
the action was that made me feel that way, I say, well, when you did this or when you said that, as soon as you say when you, usually people are automatically thrown off, right? And so then I had to learn how to um, restructure what I was trying to establish, right? And so then I had to start saying, I feel this way when this action was done. As soon as you
Hmm.
say you, people are automatically on defense,
This is
right?
a
And so
defensive,
you
and
have
it's
to
a natural
you have to
response.
start off, right? You automatically have to start out with I feel this way and then the action. Because if they're like,
Hmm.
well, what are you feeling like that for? Right? And so that's good. I see a lot of the men are chiming in on Instagram. I know you can't see the Instagram, but they're like, you're spot on facts. They say, man, a lot of us aren't allowed to express growing up.
Yeah.
And I realized that for a lot of men, I try to, at least in my dating experience, make emotions a safe space with me.
Hmm.
So whether you want to cry, whether you want to laugh, whether you want to yell, just let me know, and I can say, okay, now that I understand that, I want you to have free reign to do it. But it's about communication, and how important is communication, right? When you're
Very.
talking about growing, developing, strengthening, not just intimate relationships, friendships, partnerships, business,
Exactly.
all right? Being able to express, I'm frustrated, I am angry, I am bitter, I am happy, I'm excited. Or, like you said, I'm stimulated. And usually, when you say stimulated, people automatically go to the intimate part of stimulation. But stimulated could be mental, emotionally stimulated. And if it's something that they have not experienced in the past, then it is usually blocked out. Like, oh wait, I don't know I'm supposed to feel that when they
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
had the opportunity to feel deeply.
Just into that, right? And understanding that when you have a feeling, right, if, as long as you're not projecting it and you claim it as yours, right, and you would be accountable for your feeling, right, then it means that you don't have to act on the feeling. I think
Mhm,
sometimes, even as men, when we are stimulated, whether that's sexually or excited, we feel that there must be something we need to do with that energy, as opposed to just appreciating that energy or embracing what that energy is. I mean, sensual energy really is creative energy. It's powerful energy, and you don't always have to
Mhm.
do something with it. You take a deep breath and enjoy it. We don't get to enjoy our feelings, right? Even sadness, there's a lot of shame and feeling weak or lesser than, regardless, for both men and women when it comes
Mhm.
to crying, right? And I very much coach that no, 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 you can feel happy. We shouldn't judge our emotions. We have been, and that's really what it is. That is what
Mhm.
helps create the safe space to know that, even like you said, you're holding space for someone crying, right? A man even crying, right? But understand that I'm not going to treat you different, see you different, right? Because you wanted to express your emotions for me.
Right. If you had to put a number on 1 through 10, how many men do you feel have really opened up and identified how to be emotionally liberated?
Mm, it is, oof. I want to always change my narrative. It feels like there is not a lot, right? Because there isn't this safe space for us to really express, regardless of the gender that we are around. So people have pushed emotions in, right? And I don't, I can understand even from a man's perspective, but from a woman's perspective, which are most of the clients that I work with, they don't feel safe in their bodies, right? For a number of different reasons, women have had to come out of their bodies and be in your head and in your mind. And that doesn't allow you to feel. You're worried, you're judging yourself, you're allowing other people to judge you. And then so you stop the feeling short. And when you stop the feeling short, that gets pushed back down, but feelings don't go anywhere. The body keeps score, right? And so as you continue to push down, you find that this is why we have those explosions, and that
Mhm.
is what happens, whether regardless of the gender.
Absolutely. I know I don't want to keep jumping on this one, so let me go to the next one. The next one within that feeling deeply would be
Hmm.
authenticity, and
Hmm. Hmm.
authenticity uh, looks different for everybody, right?
Yep.
But what is your interpretation of the word personally and professionally?
So authenticity for me means unapologetically and fully me, right? Understand, but I think I believe one of the biggest things is we haven't had the time to learn who we are. We've always, and I see this in men a lot, and possibly in women, because we want acceptance and love, we are trying to figure out who I need to be for someone else, right? As
Okay.
opposed to being fully me for myself and then
Mhm.
allowing that to attract someone or keep someone here. Um, for me personally, that's what authenticity is. It's where I'm going to be myself fully, right? And then you get to choose if you want to be in my energy, but I want to be authentic in who I am and what I'm saying, so that gives you
Mhm.
the opportunity to make that choice. Professionally is it has been a journey. Especially with what I do, being a sexologist or intimacy coach, even just being a pleasure facilitator. Um, Being a man, I've been approached with either a lot of shame or guilt, like I do this to attract women in my life, right? As
Mhm.
opposed to helping women be their best selves. And I've learned to sit with it and believe in myself that what I do as a healer is unique, and it does give women the opportunity to be in a safe space, explore what feels good to them, say what doesn't feel good to them without
Mhm.
shame, say what they would ask for, what they would actually want, right? I feel that in relationship, we have been coached that we have to sacrifice or concede or minimize what's going on with us to save a relationship. And what
Mhm.
I've learned, that if you are authentically you, right, then what that person is loving is actually you, right? If we are sending our representative to make someone want us more, by the time that we get into relationship and it is deep, the person that you've sent, you can't maintain that forever, right? And it is because we've done this so much in dating that we haven't brought our true selves. We want to be liked, right? We've heard this before. Your first impression is a lasting one, right? And so we try
Right.
to bring the best of us into meeting someone. Well, I've taken the stance of saying I'm going to bring all of me, right? Not just
Mhm.
the best of me, but what some people may think is the worst of me, my uniqueness,
Right.
my what you may call weird or different, right? I'm going to
Right.
put that in your face as well, so that if you are going to love me or want to be in communion or want to be in relationship with me, it's all
Mhm.
of who I am, right? When I'm helping women through a breakup or through a transition, I'll hear all these negative things that someone has done, but you chose this person. So there had to be something that you liked about them, and you need to be honest about that. And the more that we see a person as whole, right?
Mhm.
Everything about them. And even in that transition, when you are trying to figure out, well, how do I get past someone, right? Well, see all of him, right?
Right.
See everything that has happened, see the good, what you felt was the bad, and
Mhm.
embrace that as who that person is. And then you can make a decision. Am I truly happy? Do I feel loved for who I am? And if not, that
Mhm.
helps transitioning into something different, where we are focusing on ourselves and what we want from a connection. And then you move past and into yourself.
Okay. The authentic part, and I know I brought this up on the 14th. I said that I felt like I struggled with because of the nurturing aspect of who I am. Uh,
Hmm.
and I've heard people say, be who you are, be who you are. But because I'm so nurturing, because I'm so giving, and because of the oil that's on my I am willing and open to share it and to
Hmm.
give
Hmm.
it unapologetically. The problem with that is that some people are like, don't give everything you got. You need to hold some back because people aren't deserving of it. So then it is authentically, when you're willing to give everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, you find yourself in a, for lack of better words, a weird space, because you
Hmm.
don't know if you're being authentic by giving all of you, or if you are being un if you are being someone other than your representative. If you're being your representative, because now you have to kind of play the part, you have to feel them out and figure out if they're worthy. And the reason I say that is because I have a gentleman I'm a friend with, and he is often like, all that stuff that you say on your real resilient conversations, you don't do none of that, because you saying that you need to do this, do that, do this, do that. But then when it comes to your relationships, you aren't willing to give that. And I said, well, in my mind, this is chess, not checkers. How I authentically give is
Hmm.
how I give. For you, I may not have been willing to give that same space. For this person, I'm willing to give this space and more. And so, authentically, I have to deal with it on my time. And like, whenever I talk to people, they're like, you have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired whenever you're really ready to make that decision and that leap. So when it comes to being authentic, whether it's with friendships, it's with intimate partners, it's with family, it's with business partners, it's with yourself. When you look in the mirror, are you at peace with who you are and who you say you are? Whether, because there's always going to be naysayers or people that don't agree with you or don't care about your character. That's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that later on. We're talking about the judgment. I know how you feel about that.
I know, but I think what that lesson for me was discernment, right? And
Mhm,
so understanding, what am I allowing in my space, right?
mhm,
And am I just giving access because of a title, right? And
mhm,
not who the person is actually being, right? And so even in relationships, or even someone, I've been the same way. I've been a people pleaser, and I've learned that it came from me wanting people to want me, right?
mhm,
And really, what I've learned is what I needed to do was love myself, to not see that I need something outside of me. And then that
mhm.
helps me show up as me fully, whether that's
Okay.
giving. And then when my body tells me I'm doing too much, honor that no, right? Like honor
Mhm,
that. Like, you know what? I disagree with, oh, you need to give your last drop just because you're in a relationship. You
mhm,
need, if your body is telling you this doesn't feel right, then you should say, this doesn't feel right. I'm too tired. I'm going to show up for me. And if you're in a
Mhm.
relationship or in any ship, friendship, sister, brother, mother,
Right.
if they truly love who you are, they will respect your no, right? Because I've told you this
Mhm.
before, that your no is a yes to yourself. And I've
Mhm.
seen it where I've done over and over and over for someone. And as soon as I embrace my no, they act like they don't want to be friends anymore. And I've learned, okay, well, then you never really were a friend. You never really were a boyfriend or girlfriend to that person,
Mhm.
because you were there for what they were doing for you, not for who they were for
Right.
themselves.
Right. Right. Um, so whenever we're talking about uh, what do you think that inner strength is when you're talking about today's culture?
Yeah, like I said, we aren't really taught or educated to look inside.
Mhm.
We have grown up in a culture where things people like to say that things are happening to me as opposed to things are happening for me, right? When
Yeah.
you approach your life and change your life, that things are happening for you, whether it feels uncomfortable or feels good, it's happening for me and my growth. And
Mhm.
the mirror work is a tough thing. One of my biggest shifts was when I started realize I was looking for love, looking for partnership, feeling like I didn't have enough support. And I realized, well, am I loving myself the way that I want to be loved? Am I supporting myself the way that I want to be supported? Right?
Mhm.
Am I looking in the mirror? Everybody that's on the call, take some time when you wake up in the morning, look yourself in the mirror. And it shouldn't be difficult, but it is. It was difficult for me to say, I love you. I see a beautiful man, a handsome man who is doing things for people, and I'm grateful for you. Right? We
Mhm.
have a tough time looking in ourselves because our reflections are tough. Even when we're having conversations, and it's why we project or blame as opposed to you made me angry, right? No, I'm angry. And then saying,
Mhm.
well, what is making me angry? What is the purpose of that? Why is my body having that feeling? And learning that. And that's how I believe, you learn and start to build inner strength. Sitting with
Mhm.
the uncomfortables that are inside of us and saying, it's on me. I feel this way. I'm not going to blame or project my feelings onto someone else.
Right. Right. I think that also ties right into my next question when we're talking about deeper connections,
Hmm.
because deeper connections can be challenging due to the battle of unhealed wounds, different unhealed triggers. And in this current environment, really, um, how do you explain what that deeper connection is and what it can look like? Right?
So to your point, I really teach intimacy. I understand that we've combined that with sexuality, but intimacy is closeness, right? So deep connections are built over time and built in a space where you feel safe to fully be you. But the purpose of relating, all
Hmm.
relating, brother, sister, mother, friends, right, is
Hmm.
to bring up wounds and triggers that have happened in the past when you weren't able to express yourself to someone who was supposed to be the person you were getting love from. And so I think that that's, where these triggers and wounds come from. But we
Hmm.
connect. We need to learn that we connect with someone to feel those wounds. Even from a sense of, sometimes we approach someone as felt some way that we want to fix them, right?
Hmm.
As opposed to saying, why can't I sit with their feeling that
Hmm.
they express and learn what it is for me, and then allow them to take accountability for their own feeling and work through it on their own.
Hmm. Now, when you were talking about when we were talking about those triggers and being able to sit in your feelings, um, I think because people don't even understand what their triggers are,
Mm,
and that goes back to getting the therapy sometimes. And most I know, especially in Black and Brown culture, therapy is frowned upon. And so when you're talking about going to therapy to understand who you are so you can have a deeper connection, so you do understand inner strength, so you do understand authenticity, so you do understand how to be emotionally liberated. It then becomes uh, a issue, so to speak, with their past, and it
Hmm.
all starts to collide together. So when you're talking about being at peace with your past, how do you reclaim your past so that it doesn't interfere with your future or your present even?
No, no, yeah, understandable. So reclaiming your past really has to do with validating that it happened, right?
Mhm,
Without judgment, without
mhm,
shame, without guilt, but then embracing that that is a part of you and your growth, right? So our past happened to us.
mhm.
It's not something you can change, right?
Right.
But it happened for a reason. Your body is always working toward homeostasis to be balanced. So if something in your past happened to you and you weren't able to express some anger or you weren't able to express some sadness and you
Mhm,
pushed it down inside of you, it is still with you. We don't feel like we should have those things, so we just continue to repress them. Reclaiming
mhm,
your past is seeing your past, even the things where I have made mistakes or hurt someone else or did something that I felt was unethical, right?
mhm,
Saying that was who I was then, right? But then updating and say, I'm not that man anymore. So some people may have known me 10 years ago, right? And said that I did this and another, right? Okay, that I'm not going to refute that, right? I'm going to
mhm,
claim that I understand that I may have hurt you, but then I'm going to be accountable and say I apologize, or I can understand, or I can empathize, but I'm also going to not let you judge me and place who that man was 10 years ago onto who this man is in the present. So that is really how you don't allow the past to interfere with who you are right now, to continue to update yourself. I am not that person. They are not that person, right? We are
right,
here now, and let's be present with who we are now and give grace and gratitude for the journey that has brought us here.
right. I do not want to miss out on some of the things that our people over here on Instagram are saying. These men are loving you over here on Instagram. They are agreeing with you. Um, they were saying, "Come on, Adonis, with the sound bowls and the chakras in the back." And they were in the power of no, and affirmations, and speak life into self and say it out loud, and be in those feelings and emotions that come out, that come when you speak them. And they were saying that great points, all facts. So they are sounding off with you over here.
I
Uh,
appreciate it. I
so I
appreciate
didn't
it.
want to miss out on be bold and be still. They're both over here supporting you 125%. Uh, but bottom line, feeling deep doesn't make you weak, right?
Hmm.
That is the bottom line case point. It really is a freedom. It frees you from guilt, right? The shame, the silence, the pretending. And I used to talk, I said something about this. Somebody was like, it's Aria from, from, oh goodness, what's the Game of Thrones, that wore the
Okay.
different masks, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
she was not able to be authentically herself for her own safety. And I feel like some people do that because they are afraid of who people say that they should be versus who they
Hmm.
are. And so then the bottom line is, though, in order for us to feel deeply, we have to learn how to be able to express and really love who we are at this stage in our life. Who I was yesterday, 6 months ago, is a completely different Quita
Hmm.
than today, right? Because I've had different experiences, I've had different, more knowledge, I've had different people to come in and out of my life within that 6 month time span. And it has helped me with my emotional liberation. And for those that make you silence your emotional liberation, I challenge you to ask them, is it they don't want you to speak because of something they've been through? Or
Hmm.
do they not want you to speak because of how you have spoken to them in the past? Because sometimes people do not want you to really speak because you may have said something that was too stern that made them become standoffish, or they are not used to someone speaking freely and they don't know how to receive it.
Well, not even that. A lot of times when you are speaking in a certain way and it is scary to someone, right? It isn't me, right? There
Hmm.
was an adult figure, right, that spoke to them that way and didn't allow them to have a voice. And again, when we go back to triggers, it triggers that same feeling with
Hmm.
you, and understanding, and a lot of what I've learned comes from author Dr. David Hawkins, who created the map of consciousness, and it is a map from shame all the way to enlightenment. And what he believes, and I agree with him, is that courage is the line where above it is good for us, below it is below it doesn't serve our body anywhere, and that's shame, guilt, apathy, fear, anger, desire, and pride, right? Any of those feelings don't really serve our body well, especially the bottom four. But courage takes vulnerability, right? Like you
Hmm.
said, we were afraid to be ourselves, right? We need to
Hmm.
sit and step into our courage to be authentically us, right? To be
Hmm.
resilient enough to say, I'm going to be me, and I'm not going to allow how me being me will affect you so that I
Right.
minimize myself, right? I don't need
Right.
to minimize myself for you to feel safe. Your safety needs to come from you, right? And if
Yeah.
me being me brings something out of you, then we're really both growing in this. If I not myself, like if I say, "Oh, I don't want to speak a certain way because it makes you feel this way," right? Now we're
Hmm.
being codependent. We're allowing us to stay in
Hmm.
our lower vibrations, right? So that we stay connected. When realistically,
Hmm.
we need the courage and the vulnerability to be genuinely me so that you
Hmm.
can learn and step into who you are from an authentic perspective.
Nice, nice. We do have a question here on Instagram.
Mhm.
Mr. B Still said, "Why does confidence that a man has to be himself confused or judged as not caring when it comes to allowing a woman to be intimately free and still be there for her and enjoy it with her?" So did you get all of
Read it
that? Do you
again,
want me
and I think I'm understanding what he's saying because I think I've experienced that before.
Okay. It says,
Uh,
why does confidence that a man has to be himself get confused or judged as not caring? I think that's
mhm.
the first part.
Yep,
We
yep.
said, all right. And then when it comes to allowing a woman to be intimately free and still be there for her and enjoy it with her.
So first, I think a lot of the issues that we have is we associate genitalia with energy,
Mm,
right?
okay.
We need to start looking at everyone as human beings. I don't like looking at kids as kids. They're human beings, right? So we all have these feelings. We both have masculine and feminine energy. And what that happens is as men, we are working to try to create a safe space for them to feel, but
Hmm.
because so many women have had to be in their masculine energy, be up in their thoughts as opposed to in their bodies, it's very hard to create the safe space for a man to just feel and not feel like they have to be fixed or feel like I'm going to retreat back away from you because you're expressing yourself. Um,
Hmm.
what I've learned though, and to help answer that question, is understand your tone, right? Understand why you're feeling this way. And then make sure that we as men aren't projecting it, right? So if my tone gets raised, if I get angry, right? Let me start to realize why did I get angry first? Like what caused it? And if I get angry, take a breath. If I get
Hmm.
angry, I'm gonna step away from the conversation, right? I'm not going to, and I'm gonna say, I'm feeling angry. I would like to step away, right? Or I'm feeling sad. I would like to sit with myself, right? As women, allow your partner or a man to take a break,
Hmm.
right? And see it from a different perspective, right? See it from a reflective, like I want him to be able to do this for me. All right, if I'm not able to do it for him, why is that? And sit with the mirror. So when we start sitting with our mirror, right, really saying, how would it feel if I were to do this? It will allow us to start cultivating both of those energies so that we can be safe spaces for each other.
Mhm.
But if we're
Mhm.
both in our emotions, in our feminine energy, it's not going to work. Everything is a yin and a yang. Everything is a give and take, and there's a balance. There's pono to everything. And
Mhm.
what we have to do, right, as men is express ourselves without worrying that she's going to leave because we're expressing ourselves,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So you saying that they don't give it to us, well, then demand it. Say
Mm.
that I want to express myself. Allow her to leave. If she doesn't, then that relationship isn't at a place where it needs to stay. I really feel like we need to honor transitions and not see everything as a breakup. Right? We can
Mm.
take
Okay.
time, right, to say that there's some growth that we need to do on our own so that we can
Mhm.
remain in a positive connection with someone. But we are so afraid, even as men, right, that if I don't show up a certain way or she leaves, that she will find someone else or she will move to someone else. And
Right.
realistically, that's the mirror because what I see most men doing is if she's not doing something for me, I'm going to find someone else, right?
Mm-mm.
And so
Mhm.
as men, we have to sit with our mirror and not project what we would do that saying she would do it. And if they do, then understand that universe will provide it back to you. But there is some growth that needed to happen in our solitude so that we could be together in our true authentic selves.
Okay. And I'm guessing that you answered this question because he said facts, and then he got his fingers crossed. So I'm I'm guessing you answered this question. So moving on to the adversities, when we're
Mhm,
talking about freedom in adversity. What about the now? I mean, that kind of jumped right into our next topic, talking about emotionally overwhelmed
mhm,
and
mhm.
feeling overwhelmed. And has there been an area in your life that you felt emotionally overwhelmed? And how did you handle it?
Yeah, so there are two things. I understand that I had to do a lot of father wound healing where I was
Okay.
judging my father on ways that I felt he didn't show up for me, right? And it
Mhm.
took two steps. The first step was realizing he didn't show up for me because he wasn't allowed to experience that or learn that,
Okay.
right? But then appreciating the other men who did show up, right? And so as I started to do that, I started to empathize with the fact of why he didn't or wasn't able to give me some
Yeah.
of the things that I wanted to learn from a father figure, right? But not
Mhm.
judge him for it because he did the best he could with what he knew, right? We have spaces now where we have shows where we can talk about our emotions and bring these conversations up. You know,
Right.
40 years ago, we don't think men don't have a space now. There was no space, right? At
Right.
all. There
Right.
was no therapy. There was no place to feel. You just had to show up. And the circumstances that he was in didn't give him the safety to learn certain things. And so I
Mhm.
had to accept that, get past where it felt like he didn't show up and understand it's not my fault or my sister's fault why he didn't show up. There was some shame that had been placed on him, right? Where he felt it was better to not be present and then give grace to the people that we feel have hurt us, right? So
Mhm.
that their actions don't control our emotions.
Mm.
The second one, it kind of refers to that too, and it's a new passion that I have. It really comes from understanding and overstanding what sexual assault and rape is.
Mhm.
I've learned that I would get very emotional when I would talk about this because in all the different women that I know and worked with, I only really know maybe one or two women that have not been sexually assaulted or raped, and that is my daughter and one of my sisters. And
Mhm.
so I would get overwhelmed and sad because I don't want my daughter to grow up in a world where men don't understand the emotional effects of pushing someone's boundary because of something you want from them. So when a
Mm-hmm.
woman or anyone, honestly, says, I don't want your hand on my thigh, don't
Mm-hmm.
try to figure out a way to get it back there, right? Like if
Mm-hmm.
someone says you are crossing a boundary once and they say no to that and you do it again, that's
Mm-hmm.
assault, right? And it
Right.
doesn't make you a bad person, but I think we have to understand really what that is. And rape can be anything. If you do something sexual and someone says no once and then you do it again, that's rape,
That's great.
right?
Yeah, it is.
Emotionally, you may not have slapped her around or penetrated her, right? But emotionally, she no longer feels safe with your presence.
Mm-hmm.
And in reflective, women have to take on their power. When you say no, don't say no and giggle, right? Say no and then remove yourself, right? And don't
Yeah.
let it be just sexual stuff. If a man approaches you and doesn't want to respect the no that you say to anything, then understand he's not at a place to for you to open yourself and allow yourself or your body to him just because there's a physical attraction. And so there's a
Mm-hmm.
responsibility for people to understand their boundaries, speak them sternly, right? And enforce them strictly. And that is okay.
Mm. Yeah, I know that on the podcast that you were on yesterday, that they all have kind of brought that up, how your mouth may be saying no, but your body is saying maybe.
Hmm.
Your body is still like, but you like no. And like I think it was mentioned yesterday, you can say no today and it doesn't mean no forever. But if my no is no right now, then it's a no. Um, and
Yep.
I
And,
think that
and
also, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and a maybe is a no. So I like to say a no is a yes to you, right?
Mhm,
A maybe is a no still, but with curiosity. And then if it's a yes, it needs to be a full embodied yes. And if there's a part of you that doesn't want to say yes, right,
mhm,
then you need to respect what your body is telling you. And then if you can't respect what your body is telling you, it's very difficult for the person you're connecting with to fully respect what your body wants.
mhm. And I think that because as women, we don't want to come off as the B word if we say no.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe
I know.
because we
Are we
like what?
allowed like to use explanation word? I don't call them curse words. I call them explanation words. They put exclamation points at the end of it,
I
right?
mean,
So
when someone is
I'll say
helping
B
you,
for
yeah,
now so that we don't offend anybody. But I
yeah.
teach people, right? You need to be a polite B, right? And I teach men, right? You need to be an aggressive, like a stern A, right?
Mhm,
Right? Nice guys be like, oh, a nice guy's finna. Well, that's because you haven't learned to be stern. Women,
mhm,
you can smile and say no, right? You can smile.
mhm,
Y'all are beautiful. Bat your eyes, put your smile on, but say, no, that's not going to go down. Be in your
right,
power, right? And
mhm,
and don't be afraid that I'll be rejected or
mhm,
that I have to consider how my no is going to make you feel, right?
right,
If my no offends you, then you sit with that, sir. But my no is my responsibility. And so as we
right,
start to be less dependent or less afraid that someone will walk or be out of our lives, right?
mhm,
Then we can sit in, again, what we talked about before, being authentically ourselves. And
mhm,
that's who you want someone to love, is who you are truly. But if you don't know
right,
that, you don't express that, you don't show up for that, you're really not even giving them a fair shot at loving who you are.
right. And that goes back to letting go of the control
Mm,
to um to be in control of
mm.
what somebody says, what somebody does, what somebody thinks. And I don't want to jump too quick, but what does letting go of control look like to you in the current climate?
So for me, there are lots of things that you can't control, but there are four things that I lean on all the time, right? You can't control your past, you can't control your
Mhm,
future, you can't control what people think of you. That's that judgment, right? And you
mhm,
can't control your feelings. But what you can control is your reaction or your action from those feelings, right? So
mhm,
once you can let go of trying to control things you don't have control over,
Mhm.
right? You will learn that you will start to lose a lot of anger. Like a lot of our anger comes from trying to control what people think about us or what people are doing or what people are saying to us. I
Mhm.
don't have a say so or it comes out of you, right? So it doesn't need to offend me, right? If
Right.
something you say offends me, right? Then I need to sit why that does that offend me? Not try to call you
Mhm.
out or say you can't say it. You can. I can't stop you, right? But if I'm not proving myself to you and I'm secure in who I am, you can
Mhm.
say whatever you want. It isn't
This
me.
is true.
But if something
Right.
says somebody says something and it feels like it's you, right? Then there's a part
Mm.
of you that believes what they said. And then you sit with that and let that go. And then that is how you let go of trying to control what's going on outside of us. If you look at your mirror, every time you feel a feeling, you will relinquish the control of other people have over you and sit
Mhm.
inside of why I feel that that's valid. Because if
Mm.
someone says something I don't think is valid, why do I need to prove it to you? But if I
Oh.
have to prove it to you, then part of me still thinks that that's in there and it's a valid statement about myself.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, that letting go of control, 'cause I acknowledge that that's still some work I'm working on.
Yeah, no, it is
Right.
a constant thing.
Um,
Yeah, and
I have
we
a
all deal with it.
control factor. I
Hmm.
definitely have a control factor. I will control the things that I can, um, and the things that I can't. Then I say, okay, this is not within my realm of control. But whatever I feel like I can control, I usually do,
Yeah.
which
And I
is a
think
good thing and a bad thing.
yeah, well, I think too what we're trying to do when we control is be create this safe space around us as opposed to creating a safe space inside of us. Right?
Okay.
That is
Mhm.
really what control is. It's like I want to make sure I can do what I need to do outside of me so that I feel safe. And it
Mhm.
goes back to what you being our inner strength is weak, right? So we feel like if I can control what's around me, then I can feel safe as opposed to working on my own inner strength, right? And feeling
Yeah.
confident in who I am and being safe in my own body and my own space, and then
Okay.
it allows you to not wanting to control other people. You see them, you can
Mhm.
empathize, you can pity, right? All that kind of thing. When people get angry with me, I empathize. I'll be like, oh, you're going through something. I'm gonna let you have to do that on your own, but you're not gonna project it on me, right? Something like, oh, you look like something's wrong. I'd be like, I'm fine, but you look like something's wrong. I'd be like, oh, well, then maybe you should sit with that. Why do you see something wrong with me if my truth is I'm okay?
Mhm. I realize that when I am having those days and I say, hey, I don't really want to talk right now because this is what I'm feeling and I need to deal with that. So I don't project it on you because I don't
Mm-hmm.
expect you to feel
Mm-hmm.
what I'm feeling. So then I need time to do that. But as soon as, for example, this particular person said, yeah, you need to sit with that. You need some time by yourself. Now it's like what should have been a safe space automatically turned
Mm-hmm.
into um, a not so safe space. Um, and because then I'm like, just letting you know what I'm feeling. And instead of me projecting that on you, expecting you to feel what I'm feeling or what I'm wanting you to feel. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm wanting you to feel. Instead, I'm saying, give me a second, let me sit in this. So I don't want to talk to you because now I'm going to be upset with you because you're not feeling what I want you to feel. Um, and then as soon as it turns into something negative, now I no longer feel safe. And I had to realize that I was still trying to be in control of it. And I had to
Mm-hmm.
allow them to be able to feel
You
whatever they felt.
you have to let him go or let that person go, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the control. Like we don't want to let go of people. We feel like we've been taught that you need to keep relationships in your
Mhm.
life, right? That's
Mhm.
that letting go of like if there's something I can do to keep you with me, right?
Mhm.
And that's a falsehood that we've told ourselves, right? Like I can do these things and you'll stay.
Mhm.
When realistically, right, I should be able to walk away, right? And allow you to deal with the fear of me walking away, and I told you that I was going to come back, but some part of you doesn't believe that.
Mhm.
And now you can sit with why that is. Like, why don't you feel safe letting me do something on my own? Why is it that you were trying to control what's going on with me when realistically it's giving you the opportunity to say, I probably need to be by myself and sit why being by yourself bothers me.
Mm. Okay. Okay. And does that fall under the judgment from others thing too?
Hmm. No,
How you feel about being judged because of how you feel, or what they meant, or whatever their judgment looks like from the outside looking in. And how did you deal with that personally and professionally?
So personally, it took what I was talking about, the mirror work, and
Hmm.
really sitting with knowing who I am, right? So once you start to know and define who you are, who you want to become, right? Then you start to lose and, not give a F about what someone else thinks about me, right? If you think
Hmm.
I'm weird, or you think I'm not safe, or you think that I'm abusive, or you think that I'm manipulative, all right, that's fine. I know I'm not. I'm not even going to
Hmm.
prove it to you anymore. If you think that, that's something that you are perceiving and trying to push on to me, right? So
Hmm.
I have moved from a place of wanting or desiring to be a safe space to believing that I know that I am. And once
Hmm.
I know that I am, you can't convince me otherwise. So now your judgment isn't going to be projected on me. And that's from a personal standpoint, right? So I needed to
Hmm.
let go of that feeling of wanting, right? I wanted a partner, or I wanted support. And then I started
Hmm.
believing that I know that I have these things. So now your perception of what I am and who I am doesn't affect me. Professionally, right? There was a lot of shame and guilt that would be pushed onto me from what I do, right? I'll
Hmm.
take a client at 10 o'clock at night and be like, oh, that's a late time for a massage. And I would be
Hmm.
like, okay, well, so, and I used to get offended. Like, I used to feel like, oh, I had to prove that I was not doing anything, but this was a person who worked till 9 o'clock and had a kid, and they needed to get their person down before they could get their massage. And I would try
Hmm.
to state that. But then I realized, okay, I need to let go of the shame that I'm feeling, or the guilt that someone's trying to project on to me.
Hmm.
And once I did that and saw, like, no, I'm helping people heal, and
Yeah.
you're not gonna sell me on something different. I believe I know what I'm doing is good for my client. Now maybe you would want something different at 10 o'clock if I was massaging you at 10 o'clock. So maybe you can sit with that, right?
Yeah.
You can decide, oh, I would want something more from you if we was getting a massage at 10 o'clock. And so you got to allow people to really sit with their own guilt or shame instead of just projecting it on you, right? It's that projection, right? We
Mhm.
don't want these feelings. Again, those feelings don't feel good in our bodies. And so what happens is we will create situations to either deal with them and feel them to their completion, or our bodies
Mhm.
will spew them out onto someone else. And that is what projection is, right? You're not
Mhm.
releasing it to the universe. You're just taking your emotion and pushing it onto someone else.
Mhm. Mhm. Goodness, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Now, whenever you were talking about understanding when people were doing it, they were trying to project onto you, and you had to relinquish that guilt
Hmm.
and that shame.
Hmm. Hmm.
To me, that falls under who your old identity was, right? Before
Yep.
your old identity felt guilt, it felt shame, it felt that you had to prove yourself, right? So, at what point did you feel that you left or departed, or in another sense, freed yourself
From
from
that
your.
old
Mhm.
identity. I think the first thing, right, and you talked about this being authentic, but it first meant embracing that there was a part of me at one point, right, that may and was using massage, right, to get women to be with me, right? Before I became a massage therapist, I was the guy, I was like, oh, let me give you a massage. Let me make you feel good so that you feel comfortable, or I can touch you in different ways, or get you
Mm,
aroused so that I can get something from you, right? So I had
mm,
to understand that's what I was doing, be authentic and accountable from what I
mhm,
was doing, and then do the work to let go of this perception of myself or the perception other people had of me, right? And release that, and then know and sit in my own honor of who I am, and say that again, what we talked about, updating. I am
Mhm.
not that person anymore. I know
Mhm.
that I'm working to be the best version of me that I can be each day. I'm going to give myself grace for where I have failed in that, because I am not claiming to be perfect. I don't want to be perfect. I'm not shooting for perfection, right?
You're
I'm
shooting for
I'm working to
excellence.
be excellent, but
Mhm.
perfection is not something I'm trying to achieve, right? And so
Right.
now once I let go of that, and women, a lot of women their mother wounds have made this happen. You had to be perfect for your mom to feel like she
Mhm.
loved you. And
Mhm.
so letting go of that perfectionist, that everything has to be a certain way for it to
Mhm.
be good, right? Letting go
Mhm.
of this good or bad feeling and just sitting with, I am okay, right? I can give myself grace for my journey. And then
Mhm.
you can start to release what people thought, because that's what your old identity is. It's what your
Mhm.
sisters thought of you. It's what your friends thought of you. It's what your parents thought of you.
Mhm.
As children, we don't have an identity, and so we allow what people see us as or want to see us as to define who we are. Then once
Mhm.
you start to say, I'm going to define my own self for
Mhm.
myself, you start to really sit in your own identity, and that helps separate you from who you were in the past.
Okay. Okay. Now, there was a question from Instagram. Mr. B still said, "Did you have to go to school for this profession?" He said he was asking for a friend.
So for massage therapy, yes. So I've been a licensed massage therapist for 10 years, and I did go to school for massage therapy. For the coaching, no. But what I did say is I'm going to learn. Like, I want to do this, right? So I'm going to read, listen, and work on myself, right? I my 2, 3 years ago, my solitude was, it felt tough, right?
Mhm.
But I told myself, this is what I want to do. I have a natural gift. So now I'm going to take the time to educate it. We spend, hundreds of dollars on sections, uh, uh, $20 on a drink, right? A drink, right? But
Mhm.
we don't want to spend 20 bucks on a book is too much, right? We
Mhm.
can spend 6 hours binge watching Netflix, but to sit and listen to a book for 10 hours, that's too much for us to do. So it is saying, like, this is what I want to do. So I'm going to change my circle. I'm going to put in the
Mhm.
work and the effort to learn about myself so that I can educate others to help them be themselves. So, right, like if I want to help women become their best version of themselves, then I'm even working on improving my brotherhood, because for a long time I felt judged by men. I felt like the men were intimidated, or they had to prove themselves to me. And I felt like,
Mhm.
oh, men weren't safe. I would men badge like the best of them. And I said, well, if that's my perception, then I'm going to prove it with what I see. Right. So now
Mhm.
I want to say, no, I want to see men be vulnerable. I want to be and create spaces for brotherhood. And brotherhood is not just everything is good, but I'm gonna call
Mhm.
you out when I see you. Right? If I
Mhm.
see you doing something that doesn't resonate, I'm gonna say it to you, right? That comes from love, but we gotta hold each other accountable. And so the more that I've held myself accountable, done my own work, has allowed me to help people to do their work for themselves as well. So, like I said, the massage therapy I took, and I did take a sexologist course to be a sexologist, and that gave me a lot of different perspective. But we have to decide what we want and then what we invest in, right? If I thought it was too much to invest in myself, then I wouldn't be here. So
Mhm.
we spend money. We buy shoes,
Mhm.
we buy clothes, dinner for two people is like 100 something dollars, right? But are we going to say, am I going to spend money on the things that make me a better person, make me a better woman, make me a better man? Am I, and not spend, invest money in
Right.
making myself a better person, and finding a guru, right? So I've taken courses with people. So shout out to Carl and Kenya Stevens and their daughter Sanu. I've been in their courses. I didn't say it was too much. I said this is what I want to do. So I'm going to surround myself around people who do this. And I'm going to
Mhm.
invest in people who do this, right? And so once you start doing that, you find that you can be whatever it is, but are you going to spend the time, invest the money, right? And invest the knowledge that is out there so that you can be and become what you want to be.
Right. And that is usually because that is going to look like a storm to
It is.
somebody else.
It's
It's
gonna feel like
like,
a storm to yourself.
right, why in the world would I put myself through this possible ridicule, this possible shame, this all
Mm,
because I want to become a different person. I want to become a better person. When you're in that bettering season, it's just like a kid that's making straight A's in school. They get picked on because they want to be better. They want to do things the right way when everybody else is happy with making a C or,
hmm.
or just barely getting by. And so whenever you felt like you were standing alone, like you were talking about being a man and not being around other men, how did it feel to stand alone in that particular storm of life?
So the way I approached this was shifting my perception, right? So we
Mhm,
see alone as feeling lonely, right? And I
mhm,
felt it. There was a lot of times where I felt alone, like I didn't, going through my divorce, trying to figure out dating, being ethically non-monogamous. Um, I had to see it as solitude, right? The being in your body means feeling safe by yourself, right? If you
mhm,
can't feel safe in silence, then that's the opportunity to sit in that storm of silence, to
mhm,
be right out of your thoughts and back into your body, right?
mhm,
So now my perception is positive, right? I don't see rain as this thing that feels bad, right? I can go out and be in the rain and enjoy the feelings, the drops of water hitting me, knowing that this is
mhm,
coming from Mother Earth and I'm rinsing myself off, right? We have to change our perception of what we think feels good. We've felt like, oh, having other stimulations or other people around with us uh validate us, right? That's why even pride can be a good thing to push you up to courage, right? But
mhm,
pride means I'm waiting for others to validate me, right? I'm
mhm,
afraid to validate myself. So
mhm,
once you start to get into I can validate myself, I'm not looking for your approval, right? It helps that storm of being alone, being courageous by
mhm.
yourself is going to push you up into the higher vibrating frequencies and feelings.
Right. And I think the magic of it all is even in the adversity when you're talking about the freedom of the adversity, of the change, of the hardships. It's really, like you said, it's a release, it's a healing, it's a
Hmm.
rebirth, if you would, to become a better you. It's not the absence of pain, it's not the absence of hardship, it's not the absence, it's the courage, like you
Hmm.
talked about, to keep growing through it.
Yep.
And I didn't want to say going because then that sounds like you're like dragging yourself on, but
Mm-mm, you
you're
got to grow through
growing
it.
through each
I love that.
experience, right? You're growing through each opportunity to better.
Hmm.
And so with that, that goes right into the growth, growing through the storms, and recognizing that rain is uncomfortable. Like for some people, it's uncomfortable.
Hmm.
It's wet, it's cold, um,
Mm.
it's destroying your suede. It's right, ruining your silk, however, but it's needed in order for you to grow.
Hmm. Hmm.
um, when you're talking about the fear, the struggle, fear of the unknown, have you experienced that fear of struggle or the fear of the unknown, and how did you break free from it?
Yeah, I think that goes back to understanding what you can't control, right? So you can't
Mhm,
control the future. And even
mhm,
on that list of the map of consciousness, the next step up from courage is neutrality. Is saying, uh, I'm not, if this happens the way I want it to, it great. If it doesn't, great, right?
Mhm.
So really being neutral, and back to the question where it feels like because I'm neutral, that means I don't care.
Mhm.
That's not the same thing, right? I'm not
Mhm.
trying to control you. I'm not going to be responsible for your feelings, right? And that's, I think that's, I didn't say it, but that's really something that men deal with, right? Will say, well, I'm not responsible for your feelings, right? They're your feelings. Now I may have affected them, right? And so now I can sit and empathize or try to work and understand what my actions may have caused, but I'm
Mhm.
not going to feel responsible for your feelings. And that is that fear, like I did something wrong, right?
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
need to fix it some sort of way. And so
Mhm.
I'm learning more and more that what I need to do is listen to what you're saying, and then what can I learn to better myself, right? I can give myself grace. I may have messed up. I may have done something or spoke something or said something that made you feel a certain way. All right, well, I can learn from that, but your feeling has to be your responsibility. My feelings, even as you're projecting onto me, right, has to
Mhm.
be my responsibility. So what can I learn from what is going on right now? And like you said, the struggle, evolution takes being uncomfortable, right? And so
Mhm.
in my wanting to be at a higher state, I have said I'm going to live in my uncomfortable life. When we work out, and everybody knows this, your muscles get tired. They rip and tear so they can get stronger, right?
Mhm.
I've told you this. When a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, it has to melt itself, right?
Mhm.
And just because I'm not a caterpillar, I don't know what that feels like, right? But it doesn't sound comfortable at all.
At
But we
all.
love when the butterfly comes out, right?
Mhm.
So you have to appreciate the journey that each person
Mhm.
is going through and try to empathize, even though you may not be able to feel what they felt, right? It there
Mhm.
is a level of uncomfortability to deal with change and and to step into growth.
Mhm. Mhm. I like when you were talking about the transitional aspect instead of the breaking up.
Hmm.
And that to me, that's the fear of the unknown. Usually people don't want to talk about the breakup
Hmm.
instead of it being a transition because it's the unknown of what's to come next. Um, and the freedom to evolve would be the freedom to grow through it,
Hmm.
right? That's usually
Hmm.
what the butterfly is doing, is going through its own evolution stage.
Yep.
And with that evolution stage, like you said, it is uncomfortable. You have to be in that uncomfortable stage in order to become the beautiful, amazing, free
Mm.
flowing, wing spread butterfly that we adore whenever they come by. And you're like, oh, that's a beautiful butterfly. Oh, that's a pink butterfly. Oh, that's a beautiful yellow butterfly. But you don't understand what it took for them to get there. When it's in that cocoon stage, when it's in the caterpillar, when it's on the ground, hoping that nobody steps on it, hoping that a
No.
bird doesn't come and eat it. All right. All of the different adversities it's going through just to get to this stage of being beautiful and free. Right. And even when it's going around, it hope it doesn't get hit by a car. It's still going through its own adversities at every stage. And I just want people to hear that and internalize that. That and like we talked about, the first stage was to feel deeply. The second stage to go to have the freedom through adversity, and then to grow through the storm. Your storm of life, when you're talking about the evolution of life, um, is usually for most of us is dealt in a freedom space. I'm sorry, a fear
Hmm.
space.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and so, how did you battle the fear to evolve into the man that you are today?
I what it took for me was understanding and even seeing it how much we raise children and people in fear,
Mm,
right? I know that I love my grandmother to death, but she was always worried about what was happening to us as opposed to believing that we are going to be okay. So that
mhm,
fear just sits in there. over and
Mhm.
over and over again, right? And back to, the math of consciousness. I'm going to be courageous, right? I'm going to be vulnerable. Vulnerable, right, is being courageous. We are so afraid as people to be vulnerable. And it goes back to
Mhm.
the judgment, right? Once you
Mhm.
let go of people judging you and you can be a courageous enough to be a vulnerable person, n- to cry when I feel like I need to cry, right? To not
Mhm.
worry about if someone's going to think something negatively about, but also, from a perspective of a man and seeing women and people have to allow people to grow. If you're doing for someone all the time, you're
Mhm.
you're denying them the opportunity to go through this uncomfortable to grow. You can't,
Mhm.
as long it feels great to be a nurturer, and that's beautiful, right? But sometimes you have to take a step back. You have to let someone fail and encourage them to stand up again so that they can really go through the evolution of becoming a man, or even stepping into their masculine energy. Like,
Mhm.
I think women need the opportunity to step into your masculine energy, not feel like someone's going to judge you or a man is going to say you too much for me, right?
Mhm.
When I hear women say that, I'd be like, he's right. He's too much. I mean, you're too much for him. So he does not deserve access to you. Period. So to let go of feeling like you need to keep him around, be in who you are, in your
Mhm.
courageous self, in your powerful self, right? And when you do that, you will attract someone who appreciates your power instead of someone who fears your power and wants to control it, to dim it down, to say that you're
Mhm.
too bright or you're too shining for me. I need to push you down and cover you up to keep you mine. Right? That's not the
Mhm.
connection you want to be in. You want to
That's a
be with
control.
a person. Yeah, you want to be with a person that says, I want to see you be amazing, right? And not
Mhm.
fear that you're so amazing you'll leave me. And I had to understand and be that. Like, I want to be amazing. I want to be an amazing man. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be around, but keeping me to yourself, or keeping me under this lock or under this shade, right, doesn't stop me from attracting, right?
Mhm.
And me attracting doesn't make me or pull me away from you, right? And again, it's always the mirror, right? A lot of times when people are acting that way, and I've told you this before, when someone is being insecure or saying that you're doing something,
Mhm.
our subconscious knows when we're lying to ourselves. It's either
Mhm.
because I would do it if I was in that particular situation, or I'm actually doing it now and I'm projecting what I'm doing onto you.
Mhm. Mhm. That projection is is a
No, it's
beast,
a thing.
and
It's a thing.
it is. B cells said it's because people have no confidence in who they are. I'm guessing, and just I guess in their decision making skills. Um, and I think the freedom for the need to be perfect, like you were talking about earlier, you said you're not
Mhm.
perfect. You work towards um, being excellent.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
what does
We gotta
that
let
What does
go.
that mean? Because I mean, I was excited to hear it. But what does that mean before you made that proclamation to yourself, before you made that affirmation to yourself that you were going to work towards excellence instead of perfection?
It goes back to giving yourself grace. It really does. To understand that no one needs to be perfect, and that's unfair to put perfection on to someone, right? That we are all flawed. I
Mhm.
and this goes back to embracing who you are. I embrace that I'm flawed. My flaws, right, give me a place to grow, right? And so, giving grace to my flaws or the things where I have failed at, right, gives me the opportunity to stand up and grow into something better. And so
Mhm.
once you understand that I'm growing, I'm moving up, I'm spiraling up in my journey, then the need for perfection starts to wane, right?
Mhm.
That was the very last step, or this most recent step is I'm no longer proving, right? I'm not going to prove to you who I am. I'm going to be
Mhm.
who I am. And if you don't see it, then that's your loss,
There
right?
it is.
Right?
Mhm.
If you can't see who I am, who I'm working to become, then okay, I'll let you sit with that. But I'm not going to
Mhm.
let you minimize myself, minimize my growth, minimize my journey, minimize the effort that I have
Mhm.
put into being the man that I am, and think
Mhm.
that I have to always get it right.
There.
I'm not. And I'm not going to promise that.
But that goes into setting those boundaries,
It does.
right? And setting those boundaries. What type of boundaries um, have you been putting up as you grow?
So I said that we have those emotions, and the four lower ones, shame, guilt, apathy, and fear, right? Don't serve our bodies at all. Anytime we feel that, that's coming from the past where we didn't feel
Mm,
safe. But
mm,
anger, right, even though it is a lower emotion, it has a purpose. And so when
mm,
we get angry, right, it is because someone is pushing a boundary. And so I've learned that trust and comparison are boundaries to me. If you don't believe in me and I know that I'm really working hard to be an integral man, then
mm,
I'm not going to prove it anymore, and I'm going to get angry. But now
mm,
instead of projecting my anger, I say, "Oh, I'm getting angry. Oh, what boundary are they pushing?" Right?
mm,
What are they teaching me that I need to speak up and say, "Hey, that's not who I am. I'm not going to let you say that about me or believe that
right.
about me, right? And if you
Okay.
can't believe that about me, then I do need to walk away, right? And
Mm,
give us time and space so that you can see me for who I am. Or if you're not going to appreciate me for my growth, then you really I don't need to be. I don't you don't I don't deserve to be in your life,
right.
right? And so setting those boundaries, and I think of, I tell people all the time, they'll be like, "Oh, I got to cut people off," right? Or I got to block you, right?
Mm-hmm,
I'm like, "Oh, that's because you haven't set real boundaries," right? So boundaries are
mm-hmm,
brick walls, right? So I can
right.
stand on the opposite side of my brick wall, right? And if you run into it, you gonna get hurt, right? If you run into my boundary, it may feel like hurt. It dolly does. My brick
Mm-hmm.
walls are firm. You run into it, you gonna knock your head. I don't feel bad about that, right? I can go out and fix the crack that you did, but I know that it's there, right? But I also understand that my four brick walls are around me, right? But I have a door. Like, I don't need them to be solid so that I'm blocked out, but I
Mm-hmm,
control my door. I can let you in and I can usher you out of my door. And so really sitting in my boundaries and appreciate them for how they keep me safe, right,
mm-hmm,
has been something that makes me appreciate the things that are coming up when anger comes up, to say, "Oh, I need to work on this boundary a little bit more. I need to state what's going on and not be afraid that I'm coming off too strong or too
mm-hmm,
abrasive, right?" But you
mm-hmm,
crossed the boundary. So it's my responsibility to let you know, right? And again, it if I can't if I if I don't tell you where my brick wall is, and then you run into it, that is part of my responsibility. But once I've
mm-hmm,
established my brick wall, if you run full force into it, I'm just gonna have to let you learn the lesson, right?
mm-hmm.
And it's okay. I'll come out and give you a band-aid or give you.
That goes, it sounds like because you live boldly, like you are very bold in your stance, bold in your understanding of who you are, bold um, in your proclamation, the man that you want to become, you are
Mhm,
striving to become.
mhm, mhm.
And how do you do that with your purpose?
Um, Write it down. you know Writing is something that I have struggled with, but I've learned that when you write down your purpose, right, so that you truly see it, truly believe it, then living boldly feels good, right? I love being unique, I love being different, right? I love how I love, and I love very uniquely, right? And I've gotten a lot of shame and guilt from lots of different places because I love polyamorously, right? And I'll hear people be like, "Oh, you just want a bunch of women, or you just want a," and I used to try to prove, and you know what? No, right? This
Mhm.
is how I love, and it took me embracing this is who I am, and it's no judgment on people who love monogamously, right? But I have to be authentically me, embrace who that is, right, and live
Mhm.
boldly in that, right? So you can judge me however you want. I'm going to be me. I see my purpose. I see what was sent here to do, something that I feel that gives value to other people, that people value. I wanted
Mhm.
to live in that purpose. And so once I wrote it down and continue to evolve that purpose, right? And knowing
Mhm.
that my purpose continually, it evolves as I continue to do this work, it has let me live in my life boldly and not let anyone dim it. Um, you know, you don't let me curse on here, but I just stopped giving a F. I'm like, look, okay, all right. I mean, I hear what you're saying, right?
Mhm.
But I believe that we are all divinely gifted, right? We
Right.
all have a purpose. Um,
Right.
I'll leave with one last thing, and I tell people this when they are looking for their purpose. What would you do if you didn't need money,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
What would make you happy if you didn't need money? And if we
Mhm.
sit with what that is, right, and understand we all have a gift, we were put here for a purpose, each individual person. But it
Mhm.
takes living in yourself boldly, authentically, right?
Mhm.
Being resilient enough to explore yourself without letting other people judge you, to
Mhm.
live boldly as yourself.
Right. Right. I think the real growth, whenever you're dealing with the storms of life or the challenges of life, um, it makes you it, that's the real grow up, not the
Hmm.
glow up, but that's the real
Hmm.
grow up.
There
It
it
makes you
is.
walk differently, talk differently,
Hmm.
act differently. The way that you think, it's all different, but it took some growing. And like, I mean, anybody knows how I love to think about seeds and how those things have to break free. If you think
Hmm.
about a seed, it has to break through in order for it to become. It's
A plant.
everything, right? The way that the whole earth it has to break free in order for it to become something great. Um, it just stop one dimensional. People that are dating one dimensional, only looking at the aesthetics of
Mm.
people
Mhm.
and not looking at getting deeper and breaking through that crust or that wall that they may have because they haven't had the deeper connection or the inner strength or the authenticity or being emotionally liberated. Like all of the things that we talked about tonight, people haven't dealt with those things on an individual level to
Mm.
as a whole person know who they are and if they know how to love deeply, if they know how to deal with adversity, if they know how to deal with the growth in the midst of the storm. If they are missing those things, then they ultimately end up missing out on who they could truly become.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree.
Mhm. Tonight has been amazing. I know I have kept you well past some time, but I really wanted the men to really chime in, which they did over on Instagram, to really be able to hear from a different perspective. I know that we're out of time. For those if you have hung out this long, you are the real MVPs.
And I
I hope that
appreciate
you
it.
enjoy. I hope y'all enjoy tonight's show. I want to give a wholehearted with everything within me. Thank you to Mr. Adonis for
Oh,
coming in,
thank you
tuning
so
in
much.
tonight. I appreciate your kingship and who you are, wholly and transparently. You know how I am. Everything I like is open, honest, and transparent. So that HOT, that hotness that you brought tonight was definitely needed. I'm sure the men, they are giving the thumbs up over here on Instagram. It was needed. It was appreciated. You are valuable and you are valued. So thank you again. Before I go on, I want you to tell the people one more time how they can get a hold of you should they need some work done by the one and only Mr. Adonis.
Well, first I want to give gratitude to you, Miss Queen Creta Quee, right, for putting this together and continuing to stay authentically you, right? To understanding
Mhm.
how important it is for people to learn resilience in their life and how it benefits them. If you want to get with me, you can find me on my website, relaxwithadonis.com. I have everything that I offer there, plus more in my schedule. My Instagram also, Relax with Adonis. Facebook, Relax with Adonis. It's very simple. It doesn't change. You could just think of massage and relax, and then you're gonna do it with me. And I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts and my beliefs and who I am with the people that come to your show. And I hope that I brought some more people to your show so that they can continue learning how to be resilient for themselves.
Absolutely. Somebody just called you their Eskimo brother. I don't know what that means. Maybe that's something that you know. I
We keep
pray
it
that you have
cold. We keep it cold. That's okay. I see it. Yeah, 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 definitely.
I pray that something that was said tonight really blessed you, and it really gave you the tools that you needed in your resiliency toolbox to become a more resilient you. Today, like I said, has been an honor. If you didn't like it for you today, if it wasn't necessarily for you, please still like, share, subscribe, tag somebody, because it could have been for them. If it's not for today, then for tomorrow, the future you and the future generations to come. Make sure you hit the notification bell, because I've been hearing that y'all haven't been getting the notifications when we go live. We're going to see if it's something I need to work on the back end. But I want to make sure and tell you that you have truly been a blessing, Mr. Adonis. You have touched many lives, whether you know it or not, including myself. And you and I talk frequently about that, so I do appreciate you.
Always,
The,
always so
the
much
rest
love
of
for you.
you, thank you. The rest of you with my R2Cs, my Rivers in Your Conversation crew, y'all come back, bring a friend, bring a friend. Our next episode is going to be our new series, and it's going to be called May I Help You?
Ooh, let's look forward to that. I know it. All right.
The next episode in May is going to be called May I Help You? So May 12th, we're going to do the same thing every second and fourth. So the second is the way that we're going to outline this, the second is going to be the breakdown of our topic. And then the fourth Monday will be our guest speakers elaborating on that topic. So we want to get more people in to bring in and be able to share different perspectives. I think I have like 5 or 6 people ready to do the same thing once they heard that Adonis was coming on for this year. And so you
There
got
you
people
go.
said they're on the way. They
All right.
coming.
We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna put it out there and manifest it. I love it.
Yes. And of course, probably around the fall time, we're looking to really have their in-person panel. And so if you missed the first panel in January, that's okay. Before years, I have another in-person panel. I would love to have you be on one of the in-person panels.
I
That
would
would
love to
be
do
a
that.
joy to have you here.
Definitely
All
invite
right,
me and
so
I will come out there.
I know, ready. Those of you who don't know, he's located in Atlanta, the Atlanta greater area. So he is willing to take you on as a client. I don't know if you're still traveling to do it, but
I do. I do. Healing is for everybody, right? And so
mhm,
definitely reach out to me and we can make things happen.
there it is. All right. So it's a sin to be good when you have been called to be great. So don't let today be the day that you stop being great. So
Mm,
until the end, the same time, same place with the same face, I pray love, peace, joy, and happiness until we see again. Mr. Donis, hang tight, and I get with you here in a second.
all
Love
right.
y'all. See y'all soon. Bye bye.
In a world that's always evolving, where challenges come at the speed of change, resilience isn't just a buzzword, it's the foundation for growth and success. Welcome to Real Resilient Conversations.
Every second and fourth Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, we bring you transformative discussions designed to build strength through dialogue. Whether you're a leader aiming to inspire, a team striving to collaborate, or an individual professional seeking growth, Real Resilient Conversations is your guide to thriving in today's dynamic environment.
Our mission is clear: foster emotional resilience, cultivate transparent communication, and empower businesses to adapt with confidence. Through our resilient leadership coaching, we don't just talk about resilience, we live it, lead it, and help you achieve it. When resilience becomes part of your culture, every challenge is an opportunity, every setback a lesson, and every team member a leader in their own right.
Real Resilient Conversations isn't just a show, it's a movement, a mindset, and a community dedicated to helping you and your organization thrive. Tune in every second and fourth Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time and see the difference resilience makes. Be part of the movement and join the conversation live. Watch us on Twitch, Real Resilient Convos. Follow us on Facebook, Real Resilient Conversations with Quita. Get inspired on Instagram at Real Resilient Conversations. Catch our videos on YouTube at Real Resilient Conversations. Wherever you are, Resilient Conversations is just